Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's Shadowwraith, and today I'm here to talk to you about Death Guard. Right, I haven't made a Death Guard video in a little while because I haven't really had a chance to play much until now. And judging by the title of this video, you know what I'm going to be talking about. That's it, my boy, Typhus. So, we know the Book of Rust came out, okay? Bringing us the Terminus Est Assault Force. A way to use your army of Death Guard in a different way. There's been a lot of, speculation on how competitive this is. And I've only played a couple of games with this, so I do plan to do a bit more testing with it. But at the moment, I absolutely adore it. Because, of course, if you've been following my channel at all, you know I absolutely love Typhus and I absolutely love Poxwalkers. So this is obviously for me. So, straight away, I'll go into the biggest downside of running these guys. It is you can't bring any vehicles whatsoever. Which is a bit sucky because we have got some fantastic vehicles like the Plague Burst Crawlers and of course the Fetid Bloat Drones with their Flesh Mowers. And of course the Blight Haulers are still okay. They're not as good as they used to be. 100 points for all that cheese. But they're still okay. You can't bring Mortarion. And he's the big cheese. But that's not a downside. That's not a downside. Yeah, he's really tough to kill, but he's a quarter of your force if you're playing 2,000 points. Yeah, you shouldn't rely on Mortarion at all. I love him. I think he's fantastic, and he's quite good. But he's not what makes Death Guard. And you can only have the Plague Company, the Harbingers, which makes sense. It's Typhus, and it's his ship, his force. Yeah, and if you do include Typhus, he's gotta be your Warlord. That's not a bad thing at all, because not only does he keep his one from the Harbingers, he also gains this Warlord trait, which is called Harbinger of Death. And I'll go over both of them in a sec. They're very tasty. Now, on to the benefits, as they say. All units in your army gain the Terminus Est Assault Force keyword. You have access to the Terminus Est Assault Force Warlord Trait, Relic, and Stratagems. Death Guard Psychers can generate psychic powers from the Festa discipline, which has some really tasty stuff in it. And of course, the Terminus Est Assault Force units in your army gain the Outbreak Assault ability described below. So we'll have a look at that. It is basically an altered version of the Strategic Reserves from the core rulebook, but you just, same as usual, combine the power rating of each unit. So 1 to 9 costs 2 CP to put in Strategic Reserve, 10 to 19 costs 3, 20 to 29 4, 30 to 39 5, etc, etc. So that's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good. And if you've got the Bubonic Astartes keyword as well, you don't have to come from Strategic Reserve as normal. You can be set up anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So that's quite nice for, well, any of your Terminators, really, I'd say. Having your Death Shroud drop in, but they can drop in for free anyway, so I'm guessing it's more aimed to Plague Marines and things like that. So let's talk about Warlord Traits. So, Harbinger of Death. Basically what it is whilst an enemy unit with a leadership characteristic of 7 or less is within 3 inches of this Warlord, the model cannot make use of Objective Secured or any similar abilities, and that model cannot perform any actions. Now, this sounds pretty trash because you think, well, leaderships of Space Marines are usually 8. No, it's per model, and you'll find your lovely boys in power armor are usually leadership 7 apart from their sergeant. So yes, just stripping away the Objective Secured off of them is fantastic, and it's massive. Because if you do have some kind of central objective, or even in the enemy's deployment, you can run Typhus right up into the middle there, and with a few of your Pox boys with you, you can pretty much secure most objectives, even if the enemy are up on it anyway. Because you're getting rid of a load of those models with objectives secured. And guess what? Your Poxwalkers have objectives secured. So you're all good. Not only that, but in addition, whilst one or more enemy models is in range of this aura, add 1 to the Warlord's attack characteristic. Fantastic. So that's bumping Typhus up to 7 attacks. Okay? 7 attacks, which he'll always get because he's in combat and they're always going to be in range of his Warlord trait. And just so you know, if you decide to scythe with your Mastercrafted Man Reaper, that is 14 attacks he's making. Yeah, at strength 5, -1/1 damage, and it's a plague weapon. So that's pretty disgusting. Plus they're -1 toughness, so you're winning almost everything on 3s. Yeah, that's crazy. Of course, Cleave, having 7 attacks with Cleave, that is plus 3 strength, minus 3 damage, is also very good at cracking open tank. Keeping on the topic of Typhus, he has, of course, got Shamble Rot. Shamble Rot is fantastic in what I'd say the current meta, especially in my areas, which is a lot of invuln saves, as well as those pesky Dark Angels with the, transhuman physiology on everyone in a circle, just Space Marines in general. Yeah. Basically, whilst an enemy unit, excluding vehicles, is within contagion range of this unit at the start of your opponent's move phase, roll a d6, subtracting 1 if that has the character keyword. On a 4+, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, it's d3. So yes, you're going to be causing mortal wounds in the movement phase. That's pretty nuts. And it's fantastic against things like the Nightbringer as well, who can only take 3 wounds per phase. This is the movement phase, so this goes on top of when you shoot him, and then when you hit him, and when you use your brain to melt his brain with psychic powers. And Typhus, of course, can cast 2 psychic powers, and deny the witch on 2 of them as well. Yeah, I'm kind of selling Typhus here. He's fantastic. Come on, you're bringing his assault force. Bring Typhus. So, we're talking about psychic powers now. The Festa Discipline. Now, some of these are quite situational, but there are some key, little gems in this as well. So, we'll go in order. Gift of Infection. It's a malediction, okay? Has a warp charge value of 7, and you select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of this psyker. Until the start of the next psychic phase, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of model in that unit. This is not, it doesn't stack with toughness penalties that come from the contagion, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. But it's quite handy if something's 18 inches away and you're going to shoot the toffee out of it with Space Marines or something, Plague Marines, sorry, Space Marines, Plague Marines, and yeah, -1 toughness, so that'll be toughness 3, you're wounding them on 4s if they're Space Marines. Happy days. Can I see it being used loads? Maybe. It's not a bad one to pick. It's not a bad one. Now, the next one is Lung Rot. This is actually pretty fantastic, and I like this quite a lot. It's a malediction, of course, and it's a warp charge cast value of 7, which is quite high. It's an average dice roll, but still pretty high. You select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of the psyker until the start of your next psychic phase. That unit cannot advance. Fantastic. Each time that unit is selected to charge, only eligible units within 6 can be selected as the target of its charge, which is fantastic, okay? If you're sat on an objective and you cast that on a unit, yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad, especially if they're like 12 inches away or something like that, or whatever, or further. You can mess with people a little bit in that. And then each time a charge roll is made for that unit, it cannot be re-rolled. That's just really good to annoy your opponent. That's what I think. So, we've got the next one, which is Pernicious Dose. It's a blessing. Warp charge 7 again. Select 1 friendly unit within 6 inches of this psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack with a plague weapon, you can re-roll the hit roll. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Yeah. So you can have things like bolters that count as plague weapons, and you can be re-rolling hits against things. Sure, why not? You've got Noxious Discharge. This one's fantastic, okay? It's a Witchfire, cast of 6, and you select 1 enemy unit within 12 inches and visible to the psyker. That unit suffers a mortal wound, and all units within 3 inches suffer another mortal wound, which is fantastic when you've got a blob of things that are surrounded by things like characters. So if you've got a big unit protecting a bunch of characters, you can literally be dishing out quite a few mortal wounds to characters. Yeah, if they've got a little Death Star all running together. This one is fantastic as well. Rotwind, I like it. It's a warp charge value of 7. Select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches until the start of your next psychic phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, reduce the AP by 2. To a minimum of 0, obviously. You can't get like +2 AP, I don't know. Yeah, that can neuter quite a lot of things. And it just says an attack, okay? So, yeah, there's quite a lot of AP2 out there where you can just get rid of their AP completely, and you can be in cover, things like that. There's loads of things, and it just makes your Plague Marines even tougher. And then we've got Accelerated Entropy. It's a Witchfire, warp charge value of 7. Select 1 enemy model within 12, and visible to the Psyker. Both players then roll a d6 and add their model's toughness characteristic. If your result is higher than your opponent's, that enemy model suffers 3 mortal wounds, just flat 3 mortal wounds. If the result is double than your opponent's, or more, the enemy suffers d3 plus 3 mortal wounds instead. Otherwise, nothing happens. That's pretty crazy. I'm looking at things like Eldar, Guard, especially if you decide to drop more Typhus in behind. You can start sniping characters, stuff like that. That's pretty crazy. We've also got some pretty wacky relics to be playing with as well, like filth sensors. You just add 6 inches range of psychic powers, manifested by the bearer. Mark of Terminus Est. Add 1 to the bearer's strength characteristic each time an attack is made against the bearer. Your opponent cannot reroll to wound. And once per battle, when a saving throw is failed for the bearer, you can use this ability. If you do, and the saving throw is passed instead. So that could be pretty cheeky. The Vomix, Virulent Blight. Model equipped with a plague weapon only. During deployment, select 1 plague weapon that the bearer is equipped with. That weapon gains the following ability. Each time the bearer shoots or fights, after making its attack, select 1 enemy unit that has lost any wounds as a result. Then select 1 Contagion of Nurgle ability the bearer has until the end of the battle. That enemy unit is always considered to be within contagion range of that ability. So you can permanently give someone -1 toughness. Or they can constantly be taking mortal wounds, just for taking a wound. If you wanted a plague weapon, plasma pistol basically, then you can take their Canker, which is a strength 9 pistol, range 18, -4 AP, 3 damage, and it's a plague weapon. Rot Grip is pretty mental. It's just a ×3 power claw, plague claw, and it's a plague weapon. Yep, nuts. Reaper of Misery. Yeah, it's okay. It's +2 strength, -3 AP, 1 damage. It's a plague weapon, so yeah. And you double your attacks. It's okay. Not bad. And then there's one that makes you count the battle round as being 1 higher for the purposes of contagion ranges and stuff like that. Right, so we're going to quickly cover the stratagems. They're pretty good, some of them. Now, the Rotting Tide sounds good, but it's very situational. You can use a stratagem in the reinforcement step of your movement phase. You select a Poxwalker unit from your army that is below half strength and remove it from the battlefield. Yeah, that's not bad. Or you can pick one that has been fully destroyed. Set up that unit anywhere at starting strength wholly within 6 inches of the battlefield edge, other than the enemy's battlefield edge, and more than 9 inches away from models. You can only use the stratagem once. If that unit has a starting strength of 10 or fewer, it costs 2, otherwise it's 3. So 3 CP for 20 Poxwalkers. Possibly. Is it worth it? It's up to you. We've got Unleash the Horde, where when you pick a unit of Poxwalkers to either move or pile in, you can add 3 inches to it. So a 6-inch pile in is actually pretty tasty. Plus a 3-inch move. You know what? That's pretty good. I like that one. It's 2 CP though, which is quite costly. We've got another one that allows you to, well, when you drop in someone from the Outbreak Assault, you can count their contagion range as 12 inches. So that's pretty handy if you want to drop someone in behind or from a board edge or something, and spread, contagion and Nurgle, make them -1 toughness. Or if you decide to drop your Warlord, that works as well. And this one is a bit cheeky. So you've got Callous Disregard. It's 2 CP as well. Basically, if you don't like your cultists, don't ever bring cultists, ever. They're trash. Don't do it. But Poxwalkers as well. You can pick a Bubonic Astartes unit, and they can fire at a unit that's within engagement range of a Poxwalker unit. You're -1 to hit, and any misses hits a Poxwalker in the back of the head. But that's only if you miss. So all I'm saying is Plague Spewers, yeah, they seem pretty appropriate for this. Plague Spurt Gauntlets, stuff like that. If you really don't care and you've got like 3 Poxwalkers, just mow them down. Sod it. So that goes over all the changes. As you can see, it's very Poxwalker focused. It's very Typhus focused. So it works quite well with the Harbingers. Because of course, with the Harbingers, you want Poxwalkers in them because one of your main stratagems is a Poxwalker related one. which is called the Raffle Dead. It's pretty fantastic. You can reroll hit rolls for a Poxwalker unit. So yeah, that's quite nice. And it pairs quite nicely with the Mutant Strain, where unmodified hit rolls of 6s inflict 1 mortal wound on the target. So as you can imagine, your Poxwalkers running around, if you go 20-man blobs, sure, and you don't care about blasts, you can be potentially piling them in 6 inches, okay, or have 3-inch movement. And then you can have them all have 2 attacks each, so you're rolling 40 attacks. You're hitting on 4s, re-rolling, if you're playing Harbingers, which you will be. Any 6s is a mortal wound on the enemy. Any 1s is a mortal wound on you, but you don't care, it's a Poxwalker. If you do lose that Poxwalker unit for whatever reason, you've got the Dead Walk Again stratagem, and you've also got the Terminus Est specific one where you can just restore them for 3 CP completely. So yeah, that's pretty cheeky. I like it. Now, what do you want to be bringing with this force? I highly recommend you bring the Tallyman, because you need a lot of command points for these. As you can see, all these specific ones for Terminus Est were 2 CP minimum, so you want those refunded a little bit, as well as the Tallyman is just absolutely fantastic. Giving a core unit +1 to hit kind of works hand in hand with negating the -1 to hit when you're shooting into a unit of Poxwalkers that's fighting someone. So that's quite tasty. Death Shroud and Blightlord Terminators is obviously fantastic. I love Death Shrouds for the killing power in combat, because Poxwalkers are fantastic, but they're no Death Shroud Terminators. And yeah, you're going to be bringing, I think, at least 1 Malignant Plaguecaster, so you can bring both of the disciplines. So yeah, you're still going to want your Miasma of Pestilence and your Putrescent Vitality, because they're both fantastic, but you'll also have the Terminus Est specific ones. So yeah. And on top of that, I'd probably suggest, if you've got the points, maybe bring something like a Demon Prince, because the Demon Prince is absolutely fantastic in close combat. Okay, you can pay CP to give him Warlord Traits and Relics, and a Demon Prince with a Suffer-Arting Plate and something like Disgusting Resilience, or Revoltingly Resilient, is insane. Plus that opens up 5 psychic spells you can be bringing onto the table. Death Guard are fantastic at doing damage in every single phase, so make sure you're bringing spells that can damage the enemy in the psychic phase, as well as ones that can disrupt them. Miasma of Pestilence is a must bring in my opinion, giving a unit -1 to hit against you. Lung Rot is quite fancy, I do like that, but it's very situational. Yeah, I quite like it. I do. It's quite hard to say without more testing, but this worked for me quite well against Dark Angels. It's worked really well against Necrons so far, and I did play one against Guard, but I mean, that was not too hard. Yeah, it does perform. Having that amount of bodies on the table, so bring in 80 Poxwalkers, which is what I did, it's quite hard to deal with, especially if you've got enough terrain on the table to hide them to an extent, to give them cover, to be obscuring, as well as having all the rerolls available, all the stratagems available to you for Poxwalkers, and then the psychic powers to disrupt the enemy completely. Is it competitive? Maybe. Is it the most competitive you can run Death Guard? Absolutely not. Okay. There's one more little thing I want to mention about this, and it is Possessed. Possessed are really good because they're pretty fast and they're good in close combat. Okay, and we can't bring transports anyway, so fast units are very, very desirable. Extremely. So Possessed are a thing you might want to be considering to be putting into your lists. And if you absolutely don't care about command points whatsoever, you can bring second detachment, so you can bring someone like a Lord of Virulence. I love the Lord of Virulence. I think he's fantastic because his Flamer, Spewer, is fantastic spraying into your Poxwalkers in combat. So yeah, very nice. Okay, so a quick breakdown of a couple of strategies you can be playing with these. Now, the 2 biggest things I think in this is obviously you've got Typhus with his double Warlord trait. He buffs up Poxwalkers. Now, having the combined effect of the Dead Walk Again plus Unleash the Horde is pretty powerful, because in your command phase you can be bringing back Poxwalkers, and then if they're in combat anyway, you can pile in an extra 3 inches on top of that, which not only lets you wrap into the enemies a bit more, but also helps you push onto objectives. It's extremely strong. Now, yeah, I love the fact that you're still able to deep strike with a lot of the forces. That's why Death Guard can kind of counteract the no vehicle thing for being speedy, because you can bring Terminators. And if you do bring a Lord of Contagion or Lord of Virulence in an extra detachment, or a Demon Prince, I'd probably suggest Demon Prince, and you whack Hulking Physique on him or something like that, he's extremely hard to take down. Self-Rotting Plate with Hulking Physique is disgusting. So, yeah, very Death Guard. If you think I've missed anything out, or if you've tried this in any games, do let me know in the comment section down below. I love hearing what you think. But yeah, if you like the video, do hit the like button. And if you want more Death Guard, do consider subscribing, or let me know in the comments down below. But even if you don't do any of those things, I still hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.